Hey, everybody, welcome to Ghost Stories Live with Laura Van Tyne from the Karmic Path and me, the Reverend Roblee from Tarot with an Attitude. Wow, bang rank. Miss Laura, hello, how you doing?
Hi there. I'm excellent.
Good, good, good. Man, there's already people coming in the door. I can see the count, everything else. Welcome, everybody. Pop in, say hi. Make sure you're hitting the like button and the subscribe button, whether you're in on Laura's channel, my channel. It doesn't matter. Subscribing and sharing is what we both need at the same time. So, welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Pop in, say hi, and let's see what's going on. So, Miss Laura, we talked about coming in here and actually telling people some ghost stories and finding out what's going on in different things. I don't have any points tonight, everybody. I'm going to try not to get preachy. Okay. We're literally going to tell some ghost stories, but a lot of everything that we're going to talk about is based in things that have happened to Laura and myself. So we know they're going to be interesting for you. If you have a question, Monica, good to see you. Hey, tribe. Miss Laura, when people talk about the tribe, we're the Barefoot Bangarang tribe. That's some of my
Yep.
people. How are you, Miss Monica? Good to see you. All right, Gillian saying hi, thank you. And everybody's starting to pop in. Okay, there we go. So, Laura, you're the exorcist of the bunch, title schmeitel. We've both
Yeah.
dealt with this stuff or anything, but you are an absolute, this is what I do, an exorcist, and I kind of deal with the spiritual world in all different kind of ways. So what I'd like to know, and I know some of these people are dying to hear, something that happened to you on that plane that scared the crap out of you.
Oh gosh.
Okay. you know, yeah. So, have you got some? Do you want to start to get this party started?
Let's see here. What was the scariest thing? I should have thought about the scariest thing. Um, you know what? The PG version of this is in the book, Teacher to Exorcist.
Okay.
Okay.
And everybody, the link is in the description below. Check that out. Find out what's going on. Go ahead, Miss Laura.
So we are being inundated by every form of demonic entity possible known to man. I've got this phrase, who's who in the spiritual zoo, right?
Right.
We think of a demon as little horn dudes, right? But now we know there's reptilians and all sorts of things. And I am so exhausted. Now, I haven't slept in years. 2 consecutive hours a night, I had to justify was enough. That's how bad this problem was.
Okay.
And everything under the sun. A portal would open up in my living room, and then there'd be another one in the dining room, and this. And
All right.
then
Tell people when you say a portal. Okay. I think a lot of people want to know, what does a portal look like? I know what they look like for me sometimes, and then what they look like for you. And for me, they can be different. Are they always the same for you, or do they look different?
they can be different. And I think it's depends on who's in charge of that portal. A lot of
Okay.
times it's just like it looks like a black hole or a black blob between dimensions. Sometimes they're flat, sometimes they're standing up, sometimes they're on the ceiling. One of the more crazier ones that I had to deal with was a portal that was in an office building full of children. It was about 2
Wow.
years ago. And this portal was huge. It was 2 stories tall. There was no windows, there's no doors. It's at the end of the hallway. There's no reflective light that would be a naysayer's kind of thing, right?
Right.
And you know what was popping out of that wall on a regular basis?
What's that?
Gray aliens,
Ooh.
all
Okay. So
caught
now
on
we're
video
talking
camera.
about alien, and you're talking about legitimate aliens,
Yeah,
extraterrestrial.
but that's a demonic entity too, right?
Okay.
They are demonic
we've
because
talked around that on the show, but we've never hit
uh-huh.
that. That might be something we need to hit on our next thing, because there are definite things. If we're going to go down that path, holy crap, that just opened up a whole new realm of a story that I could tell
that
later. But
was
please go ahead.
one of the crazier things. One of the crazier things. It almost killed me. I'm not kidding. And
Okay.
so I was hired to remove these gray aliens from this office building. And there's a preschool in there and some stuff like that. And when and I have like hundreds of videos and photos from their security cameras. They keep sending them to me all the time.
Okay.
And I realized I have to go on site, and I never go on site because going on site to anything haunted is dangerous. I'm
Absolutely.
fortunate enough to be able to remote view, but these little buggers were tenacious. I get there, and the minute I get there, in a very electronic sounding voice, you can hear them say, "Oh no, she's here."
Wow.
That means they knew who I was, right?
Absolutely.
So, um, it was a battle. It took about 2 days. And I had a driver for this experience. I wasn't driving. Somebody hired a driver for me, and I go to this
Right.
place. I walk around, I see what's going on, I assess it. I actually took frankincense and I put it on the palm of my hand
Right.
and I stuck it on the wall. And on the video camera, you can see the portal shrink. The
Wow.
power of frankincense. It's if it's good enough for Christ, it's good enough for us, right?
There you go. Yes, ma'am.
So that was a huge validation. Was the three magi gave Christ frankincense, gold, and myrrh, right? Well, gold makes sense; it's
Right.
worth money. But why did you get him tree sapper? Right? They're high frequency. So I did that. It shrunk. It didn't go away. And then I leave. And as I'm leaving, I'm not driving. I've got a professional driver. Okay. This guy has driven Hollywood elite, blah, 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 professional driver. And the guy, all of a sudden, this car comes zipping up behind us, pulls off onto the sidewalk in the grass, and almost hits a tree. And it's like, wow. 2 blocks later, the same thing happens with a different car. And this driver's like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. And I've been driving for blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I've never, right? Navigated the highways of California, blah, blah, blah. And then we're driving along, and the car in front of us stops dead on the railroad tracks. And it's a work truck, like a U-Haul work truck. And all of a sudden, the railroad track crossbars come down, and they're bouncing on and off this truck. And my driver says, we can't outrun this. And this truck can't go forward, can't go backwards because of the traffic jam.
Right.
At the 11th hour, just a fraction of a moment, he broke through. The bars went off. This guy goes forward, and we were not in an accident. What was happening? These beings were hijacking the drivers around us to try to kill me.
Holy crow.
These poor people did not have control. Their free will was mitigated.
Okay.
That's a big deal. That's why I do what I do. Nobody should have to go through that. Long story short, I was able to permanently remove them with God, my team, the angels, etc. And this building has not had a problem in 2 years since I've been there. Knock on wood. But that was probably the scariest thing. And the battle I did at night with them, I could see them trying to come into where I was staying through the windows. I could see them in full aspect. I could see their ship. And I ended up remembering the movie The Matrix.
Yeah.
And where the guy replicates himself. And I thought, okay, can I do that? Can I replicate myself? And I replicated myself in every room in the place I was staying. And I hid. And my team came in and got them. They removed the replicators. So Greys have replicators. They have replication technologies.
Okay. And now you're saying Greys, you believe, and I've always wondered, and I'll tell you this one story that's kind of a crossover of years that replicated with one of my boys. But you believe Greys are actually demonic or black and dark entity, not just another alien race, or they're an alien that has been infected with. They are pure dark energy.
Most of them have had their consciousness bred out of them.
Okay.
That's the problem.
So they're almost like aliens that are sociopaths or psychopaths.
Absolutely. They use humans to experiment upon them. They use humans for all kinds of things. But that was definitely the scariest one. And those battles I did, I'm staying in this huge place that's like 10,000 square feet. I'm not kidding you, by myself, battling these grays. Um, I was weak for the next 2 months.
Wow.
It was really hard. I learned a lot. And again, with every situation that is difficult, hard, awful, whatever, there's a moment that you get to learn something.
Gotcha.
Don't take that away from yourself.
Right. It's not just an incident, or don't run from it. You need to stop and review it.
Yeah.
And remember things, because we have a way of blocking things out. And that's why I bring the science into it,
Yeah.
with denial or repression, suppression. Anyway, there's so many different ways. I know in dealing with what I thought was, I didn't understand I was dealing with grays or aliens until much later. Okay.
Mhm.
But in the house I grew up in Melbourne Beach, okay, I was petrified of the dark. Now I got burned real bad, had my 7th birthday in the hospital where I almost died 3 different times. My parents swore that something was always trying to attack me because it knew I had a purpose down the road. Okay. Well, when you're a kid growing up, yeah, okay, whatever. It's just my parents trying to make me feel special, But I was petrified of the dark. All right. Literally had no idea. But I would see things outside of my window and in my closet that nobody else could see. All right. So as you get older, you just pawn that off. But then I started doing research and I had very vivid dreams. And I can remember them. This is how real they were. At 9, 10, 13, 14, okay, of floating through the house. Not flying like Superman, like a kid dream, okay, but out the front door, over our little hedge, and I would get in the middle of the yard, and then everything just disappeared. Everything. And it's not like the dream just stopped or I woke up. Everything from that point in my head was blank. And I would wake up the next day. This happened repeatedly. And that's when I started piecing together as an adult. You were having experiences of being abducted, of being moved around or whatnot. Now, let's flash forward roughly 22 years later. In a fortunate position that one of my boys, I don't want to put any of them on the spot, if he's listening, he'll remember, was living in my old bedroom, and I had my parents' old bedroom. Okay? Petrified of the dark. Absolutely petrified of the dark. So my heart went out to him, I remember, but I didn't put anything together. One time I'm asking him, what scares you in the dark? And his answer, his answer was the clowns. Now he's only like 6, 7 years old. All right. I mean, I remember us talking about a duck walked across your grave.
Yep.
That's what I'm feeling right now, and that's when I went, okay. And I started doing more research, and they will return to homes. They will return to family members. And me and him are the only ones that ever experienced it, ever. All right. But now it makes me wonder, was this more of a gray, demonic, or alien type of thing? What do you think?
You did not have the free will to stop it. That's a problem.
Right. Okay.
And it probably was an abduction. Abductions are far more common than we think.
And you know what's funny? That's what I did when at 20 years old, I got into law enforcement. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally volunteered for the overnight shift to kind of defeat my fear of the darkness.
Yeah.
But I think everything of that kind of stopped. I think because I had become aware. And I had choices then at that point as an adult. And we'll get into some of those things. I've had hexes thrown on me. chicken heads in my driveway with green powder, all that voodoo stuff from where I used to work. But yeah, so that is, yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's
It
it's
is.
it's kind of crazy because
There's
now
no
you were
such
talking
thing
about
as no such
portals.
thing.
Yeah. So when we talk about a portal, what I would see as a portal, okay, oftentimes was more like a shimmer,
Hmm.
okay? It wasn't a defined,
Right.
sometimes it would be more, but like a funnel hourglass type shape,
Yeah.
but it was always more of a distortion, like if something was on the other side of it. You couldn't
Yes.
see it. You could see it, but
Yeah.
not clearly. Does that make any sense?
That's exactly what it looks like to me. And it's a distortion, like you can see through it, but not really.
Right.
And there's portals, which is what we're talking about. There's other elements too, but I think portals are the most common. And this is how the dark side comes and goes. The light side does not need to create a portal to help us. Guess who does?
Okay.
Right? The dark
Gotcha.
side.
Gotcha.
And the ability to close them up is a big deal. So if somebody is having these types of issues, you need to learn how to raise your frequency in the house. There's a lot of things out there that can do that. Bring in your angels. Ask your spiritual team to close up the portal. You can visualize um, packing it with elite shungite or black tourmaline, a mirror facing into it, so you're returning the energy of the portal. Those are some good tactics that can be very, very helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That, and yeah, people need to know that because, all right, like Tori says here, this reminds me of a recurring
Yeah.
dream nightmare I used to have as a child. A black round mass was in my room and tried to consume me. It was frightening. I want to ask you, I've dealt with a black round mass, and later on, in just only about 15, 20 years ago, more like 15, I guess. Have you ever dealt with a black round mass? Okay.
It
So,
is it's a form of a heavy energy
okay.
that is being controlled by dark forces. So they're utilizing this heavy energy to extract our energy. When these beings left the light of God, they realized they needed a new energy source. Humans are perfect for them if we allow it.
Ah,
So once we know, we know. Knowledge is
okay.
power.
All right. I know
Yeah.
we had moved into a house, a girlfriend, my youngest boy, her two kids, and actually her ex-husband. Everybody's like, "What?" We were actually good friends, which is the way it's supposed to be, you know?
Right.
Um, but we moved into this one house and there was this dead tree out back, and it was really weird. It was in an awkward place, like people were walking around it doing something. It's like, why wouldn't you cut the tree down? And my girlfriend looked at me, she said, "That tree creeps me out." And her husband said, "It creeps me out too." And I'm like, "Tear it down. Do what you got to do." It's just a dead tree to me. I didn't have that feeling on it. Okay. As we stayed in that house, so many different things happened that were absolutely crazy. The boys would come out. They were sharing a room. "Dad, yeah, the TV just turned on, not off,
Yeah.
like a power surge. It just turned on, and it's not on the channel we put it on." So they
Yeah.
wound up sleeping in other rooms, different things or whatnot. I was starting to be aware because everybody started at each other's throat. Everything became volatile in this house. Everything was horrible. They had two dogs, all right, two little ones, okay? He and I had a workshop out the side because we did an ophthalmic business working on eye doctor equipment. And in the back was a little workshop where nobody really enjoyed going, and you would not go there at night. And if we left something out there, even in the front part of the shop, the kids absolutely refused to go. Well, I get it. And we understood because it was creepy. But the dogs would sit on the floor, and all of a sudden we'd get that those feelings, like you're talking about a presence, and both dogs would start tracking something
Yeah.
that we never saw. So we know there was something in this house, but this is where I found that black entity. We broke up, and I went back to that house with just him to gather up some personal belongings. And by then I knew what was happening. Things had literally had set down on a bed. I was in a bed in another room, the couch actually, and made an impression. At first I thought it was demonic activity. Then what I came to realize, that was actually angels sitting down next to me to keep me safe. And when I walked in that house, I started chastising, calling out the name of God, calling out Jesus, and rebuking it, and watched, Tori, this black ball flee back into mine or her bedroom and into the wall, which went right into that shop. I chased it no further. I sat right there. Greg was in the shop, came in, he said, time to go. They can have whatever we've got. I said, what? He said, stuff just started falling off the walls in there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, time to go. And so I felt a sense of it wasn't going to follow. But Tori, that was that black ball. So I do believe these dark entities, and particularly some demonic entities, will not take a specific shape. They are just that pure, evil, dark energy.
Yeah.
So,
You bring up a good point, because some of these entities are location bound. It
okay.
can't leave that location for whatever reason. And I know I have a slight echo, and I'm trying to figure that out. So sorry about that, guys.
Somebody
Somebody made a
said you
comment.
did. I don't
Yeah.
have it on my end, so
Okay.
y'all let us know if it gets worse or better. But we'll figure it out for the next live one. But
Yeah. So you reminded me of a story that I had of a ghost that was following me around.
okay,
I forgot all about this guy. So he came into our house, and this is before I knew how to cross them over, and said, "My name is Steve-O, and I like to partay." I'm like, oh, dear God. I would fight with this ghost over the radio stations in my car. We liked very different music. And he would switch it, and I would switch it. He would switch it, I would switch it. I would get so pissed off at him. This went on for about a good month or two. Yeah. So they have the energy to affect the 3D mortal physical world, right? And that's what we're here for. That's what we're talking about.
yeah, exactly. Steve-O, the party ghost. There
Yep.
we go. You got it.
And one
You
day he turned on the teacher's music in one of my daughter's classrooms on full blast while in the middle of a test.
Wow.
And my daughter's like, "Oh, Mom, it was bad."
Oh, I'll bet. Gillian, when I lived on Martha's Vineyard, I had a dog who used to track entities come up and down the stairs. Creepiest was when she would watch something go upstairs just before bedtime. So, yeah, I'll tell you a funny story about Gillian in horror movies, okay? There was one point when we were still dating. We hadn't moved in together yet. She lived in a place right on the river, okay? And we watched this horror show about mermaids, the evil mermaids that are coming up
Okay.
and sucking the souls out of people. It was very cheesy, but it was done like a documentary, whatnot. And when the movie was over, I'm like, all right, babe, I got to go. Oh, hell no. My little earth angel that would not hurt a fly was threatening me with bodily harm of, you are not leaving me, okay? With the river, and these things flopping up. They're going to come up the elevator. They'll come up the steps. So I wound up having to spend the night. She was pissed that I even thought about going.
That's totally fair.
Oh,
Every ghost is somebody's loved one, right? Even
You think?
Steve-O, the
Yeah.
annoying party ghost. He died of a drug overdose, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So, he died of a drug overdose, and his personality didn't change. He still liked to party. So
Right.
that's one of the things that we need to understand about ghost energy. If you're a jerk in life, you're a jerk in death.
Right.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of a little bit of a more humorous topic. This is when all this stuff was unfolding for me and stuff. And I'm at a Target shopping center. This was like 20 years ago. And my cart starts moving away from me. What the
Okay.
heck? And then something falls into my cart, but I'm like 3 feet away from it. I think it was like, I want to say like a hair product or shampoo or something.
Right.
Like, I'm not buying that. There was a woman who literally was a shopaholic. She died and she kept shopping.
That was, if it was just in the past couple of years, that was probably my mother. We swore we were going to bury her in Walmart parking lot, or in the field next to Walmart. I only need a few things. $400 later,
Yeah.
one of those things. After church, let's run into Walmart, and I'm in the back as a kid going, "Oh God, here we go." There were no phones back then, nothing to keep me busy.
Right,
Except,
right.
wow, wonder where that buzzard's going. But yeah, no, that. And again, so let me ask you this: did she die in the store, or do we
I
not
don't
know?
think she did.
Okay,
I
so you don't think
she
this was a residual haunting? You think this was just her thing?
she died. She didn't cross over. She's like, I might as well go shopping. Might as well go to the store. Keep on doing what I'm doing. Or if she was married, I'm sure her husband was a little relieved. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow.
We asked people to write in about some stories.
Yeah, you got one?
I do. I've got one. So, and unfortunately, it's in microprint. I didn't.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
know, right? So, and I don't know if I have permission to use the name, but her name starts with the letter A.
Okay.
She said they had a friend who passed away in a car accident, and he used to come to their house all the time. And he was funny and goofy, would play practical jokes and such on him. And, one time he jumped out of a closet with a scream mask on. She goes, it scared me so much, I might have peed my pants a little, but I'm not telling, she says. But after he died in this car accident, they kept going through light bulbs. And so finally she's like, hey, friend, stop messing with the light bulbs. It's getting expensive. And then it's stopped.
Wow.
So
Wow.
they do mess with our electricity and our plumbing. They can
Sure.
break things down. They use their ghost energy is low frequency energy.
Right.
And so they utilize electricity, they utilize plumbing, they utilize the energy of cars to help them. They're not being cruel or vicious, but it's how they utilize things. This is one of many reasons why we need to make sure we cross all souls over. There's no such thing as unfinished business. There's
Right.
no such thing as, oh, it wasn't their time to die. When we leave our mortal bodies, we need to go home. They're not, You can't go
Absolutely.
back to work. You can't take the money out of the ATM. You can't cook dinner. You need to go home.
Well,
And
we've
if
talked
anybody,
about this. It's not healthy for them, and it
right.
puts them at risk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyways, I thought that was a funny story about the light bulbs going out because that's very true.
Yeah.
And then it stopped
Absolutely.
because light bulbs are expensive nowadays. What the heck? Remember, you get
I
like a
have
4
one.
pack for
Maybe you
$2.
can help. Yeah, maybe you can help me put some sense to this one. Okay.
Okay.
Because I saw it. I know I saw it. Okay. I still haven't quite figured out what it was, or I know exactly what it was, but I don't know what it was about. I am standing with my back to our open kitchen. I turn around. My wife is standing there cooking, all in white. White hair thing, white blouse, white thing, or whatnot. I turn around and turn back away to what I was doing, and I'm like, we always talk to each other. Hey, babe, what's up? How you doing? And I asked her a question, and I didn't get an answer. And I turn around, and now my wife's walking through the front door in nothing white. And I'm like, so if she had said something or whatnot. The other thing, I think at that point in our relationship, I don't even think we were married yet then. Okay. The only thing I can make of it was my guides were showing me her in this pure, the only way I can say is almost angelic form. And I know y'all are tired of me talking about my wife. Y'all don't know, my wife saved my life. Okay. Because she is an earth angel. She's the one that got me turned around, grounded, everything else. I can't give her enough credit. All right. But I think that was their way of saying, this woman's pure of heart and she's here for you.
Yeah.
But she's like, why are you mad at me? I didn't talk to you, or I didn't even, and I'm just like sitting there going, and I told her, she knows about it, but neither of us knows why. And that's the only reason I could think that happened. There was no fear. But it was purely an apparition of my wife, not her sisters, not her mother. It was very clear to me because I started having a conversation. What do you think that was about?
I think it was your higher self and her higher self designed to get your attention. And it worked.
Okay.
So
I think it did.
We have timelines, right? We have choices. The choices that we get to make change our timeline. If I turn right, I go down the street. If I turn left, I could get hit by a car, right? It's a choice. Right. Not that you're making necessarily a choice of getting hit by a car, but did that solidify your knowledge about who she was on a soul level?
I think it did. I think
that
it did.
Didn't happen
because we were going through a little bit of spotty stuff. We've never been through anything really bad. Okay. But yeah, I think at that point it made me appreciate what I had.
And the light side works like that for us, especially if we take the moment to pause and kind of listen, right?
Yeah.
That is a wonderful story. Absolutely wonderful story.
You know, I've got some from police work that are just absolutely crazy where I know people where I Baker acted them and I knew, because y'all got to remember, we're talking early 80s into the early 90s, mid 90s, where you couldn't just come out and go, oh, she's possessed. You know, they were Baker acted. One of them, a very dear and close friend, was with me. He came up from Melbourne to this little town I used to work in to ride with me. And I was off. We just went for a ride. And my wife at the time told his wife they won't be back till tomorrow morning. And she's like, well, they're just going to take a buzz around. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to take a buzz around. She's, yeah. But there were so few cops in such a big area and things went on so much. And sure as the world, guy running up the street. They called me big man. Big man, big man. Yeah, what's up? Down at the poker shack, girls trying to knife everybody. All right. Go off. He locks himself in the car. I go in. Little bitty thing. Probably only about 4'6" to 4'8". Wearing, I think, 2 pieces of clothes, a halter top and those old 80s satin shorts, you know the ones I'm talking about, the roller babe shorts, you know, from my day, you know.
I still have a pair. No, I'm kidding.
She's got a knife. I knock a knife out of her hand. Okay. Pick her up, bring her to the car, cuff her, throw her in the back seat. The guy that was supposed to be working was out on another fight. So he's like, you got to take her. On the way there, she literally her head started shaking. And it started out with this, nya, 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 nya. It was like, what are you doing? And that's when I said, well, we're just going to head right on into Gainesville. Okay. Which was an hour away, because this is not going to turn out well. I know but all of a sudden we hear a bang, bang, bang. And it was more like metal hitting the cage in the back. She's got another knife. And she's trying to stab me in the back through the cage.
Wow.
And I'm like, she wasn't wearing enough for me to miss that search. And this was like a butcher knife. We don't know where she got it. Wasn't in the back seat of my car. I always check my car. Everything, safety first or whatnot. When we pulled up to rent her house, I had let them know we're coming in, clear the hall, because it was, this was going to be a physical, bring in. Now she's got thick, ropey, I'm almost like rabies, okay? But I mean, it is long, ropey. And now it sounds like she's talking in another language. So as I'm putting her on the table and we're starting to restrain her, one of the young doctors looks at me and goes, I don't know what she's saying, but some of that is Latin. And I'm like, okay. I said, that would make sense. I think she's possessed. And then then he snatched his head up and went, well, I'm glad you said it, but I can't tell everybody else that. So we're going to treat her for mental illness. I'm like, okay. And went back out. And, but there are people that I do feel in that instance. I think she was possessed. I think she tried to kill me.
I have a theory about the knife.
Go right ahead, please.
That dark entity had so much power and strength. He apported a knife in the ethers into the physical.
Wow.
And I say that because I've had similar experiences where something would show up in front of me.
Okay.
Takes a lot of energy to do that.
Yeah.
I think C.W. Bedletter talked about that in the early 1900s. I could be wrong, but that's a big deal. Crazy story, true story. If you don't think I'm crazy now, you just might after this one.
That's all right.
You're
in good company. You're in good company, baby.
And then I want to kind of talk about Tori's comment here on the screen too. I'm home alone. It's me. We've got 2 cats, a dog, and a house rabbit. Okay. They're all sleeping. I'm working on the computer. I hear this big plop in our the children's bathroom. I'm like, what? I go in and I look, and there's a rat inside the toilet.
Okay.
Hey, how does a rat get in a toilet, right?
Yeah.
They don't even have rats in the house.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? So I took this big Tupperware container, squished it in there, put the lid on it, pulled it out. I can feel it vibrating. And I let it outside. I know, right? I let it outside in the front yard by the street.
Yeah.
And it pixelated away. It disappeared.
Wow.
I mean, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe that. Because I have seen some other funky things and
so I think your knife was an apportation.
Okay. All right. That would make sense. That's what I believe. I've never said that out loud, but it was too convenient, and it was too big for her to hide on a person, or for me to have missed it in my car. So Tori, some of the experience. Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes they don't have faces.
Right.
A face can be it's more of a human mind construct. And as soon as they notice you notice them, they can disappear. Like, whoops,
Correct.
I don't want to do that. That's kind of my general theory, but there's a lot of theme and variation. But I think that kind of right?
Yeah. No, I agree, because like I said, when I challenged my black apparatus or, orb, whatever you want to call it, it was actually just more of a blob. It wasn't have a definite shape to it. But that's what it does. It starts to shrink up and will move into a place or literally pull into another dimension when it knows it, especially when it knows that it's there and it's not supposed to be there.
And if you can stand in your own power and say no,
right,
you take away their fear. They feed on the fears. You take that away from them.
That's amazing. Yep. And Tori, go back and look. We've done a show on some of that where we talk about standing in your power. And I know some people on Facebook or whatnot made comments in some of the shows that their husband was attacked or whatnot, but they stood strong and faced it. And, it kept away from them. So yeah, Tori, no, that's perfectly expectant with things of the dark side and things like that. Donna, I had a beautiful experience. My mom came to me a day after she died, stood in front of me, unzipped herself out of her body, and was standing in a beautiful white gown, turned around and walked away. You know what? That's awesome because that's what's supposed to happen. They have to move on. They let you know they're okay. I'm a new creature. If you believe in the Bible, my new body in Christ, these things. And she went on. She wanted you not to worry about what's happening. So that is beautiful. And it had to give you some kind of peace, Donna. So I'm glad you shared that with us. Beautiful experience. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
BC, chills on my cheeks. I've come across this a few times when I was EMT rep. Okay, we'll do a story with him one night too, because between me, him, and you, there's going to be enough. Kevin French. All right, we don't do we don't do political here.
Tori talks about calling out Jesus. Absolutely.
What's that?
Tori here is saying she has to call out for Jesus a few times. Absolutely. Huge deal.
Exactly.
I rebuke you in the name of Jesus or whatever, or bring Jesus in to remove it.
Yeah, that is not uncommon. One of the things I have told people when they feel this dark presence or whatnot, if they feel oppressed, is to think of a good old-fashioned gospel hymn that has the name of Jesus in it, okay? And start singing it, but believe it from their heart. Using that and calling on the name of Jesus to help for protection, things like that. And you know what? When you believe, when you have that power, when you have that prayer, that gives you power, Tori. What do you think, Laura?
Oh, totally. It's worked for me. I was starting to tell a story in the very beginning about one of these scarier times of the portals and stuff. And Jesus walks in.
Okay.
And he looks at me and he says, "You must die." I'm like, "What?" I looked at him again with a more discerning eye. It was not Jesus. It was a shapeshifter.
Oh, yeah.
This was my first lesson in discernment. And it led me down the path of how do I know who or what I'm communicating with, right? So it was a scary experience, but I learned a lot from it. And absolutely, Mary is powerful too. They actually sit on my team, and they bring me before them to, I'm going to say, lecture me, give me advice, whatever.
Yeah.
Often. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of really good light beings out there. Okay, you want a funny story?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, another crazy one. So I get a call from my girlfriend who knows what I do, and I can talk to animals too. And she has a horse farm, and she teaches horse riding lessons to little kids. And she goes, "Okay, my best horse is acting crazy. He won't stop bucking, and I'm really scared. And he's going to break down his stall, blah, blah, blah." So I come over there and I look, and there's these 3 ghost turkeys. And they keep turkeys, 3 ghost turkeys. Okay. And they keep ramming the horse. Like, this is really weird. I'm like, there's 3 ghost turkeys here. And she looks and she turns white as a sheet or white as a ghost. And she says, "Oh my God. Our kids were raising these turkeys. I think it was for like a 4-H ag thing. And we culled them yesterday for Thanksgiving dinner." So here's the deal. These turkeys had a higher level of consciousness because they were pets until they were not.
Yeah.
And they were freaked out. And literally the concept of it, like a chicken running with its head cut off and it keeps running, but it was a ghost.
Right.
So anyways, I crossed over those 3 turkeys and the horse, boom, was fine.
Wow. So how do you cross over turkey.
A turkey. Same way
Yeah.
as anything else. Yeah.
Okay. I kind of
There's really no
figured, but
difference. Yeah. Good question,
you
though.
know, gather in a circle. You
In the
know,
name of Jesus.
yeah. Thanksgiving.
I kind of wonder if they ate them. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. My dad was doing that. I had ghost rabbits in my backyard. When I lived in Melbourne Beach, my dad started raising rabbits, things like that. Thought he was going to eat them, sell them, do whatever. And next thing I know, I'm getting a call. You got to come take care of the rabbits. Well, we tried giving away. We tried selling them. We couldn't. And some of them wound up as dinner, because I don't want to just kill it and throw it away. But a lot of the remains and everything were in the backyard. And so we're buried with dogs and cats. So, yeah, people would walk into our backyard at times and go,
I know. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. So,
Michelle says it proves that animals have souls. Absolutely, they have souls. Animals and humans work together. And some of them are meant to serve humanity, maybe as food, maybe as other lessons. It's all, there's a lot of theme and variation with that, right?
right.
So that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and Donna, we just had on Monday night, we talked about. And if anybody wants a reading or something, I've got my cards here set up and ready to go. But we're telling ghost stories and whatnot. And anything I get, Laura's going to be able to chime in on and add some clarity to it. So make sure you do. But Donna was asking about a dog that we know was sent to her to help her heal, and those things. So, Donna, I had a negative entity come into my bedroom. I feared for my life as if I was going to die. The energy was heavy. I called out to Jesus, and the energy went away. Scared me to death. And it should. It's one of those things that we have to be so careful of. You and I are always telling people, be careful of what you're playing with, because this is serious. You and I never walk into these things. If my wife and I are doing a house cleansing or helping people or whatnot, we never walk into them just, oh, okay, because you don't know what it is. And like you said, with the shapeshifters, everything else, now you throw in the aliens and anything else that can cross through a dimension portal, that opens the door, that's one of the things that we just got to be careful of. And Donna, it should scare you. Okay. Because the Bible itself,
and it's a healthy respect, right?
Yeah. Because
Respect.
here's one of the things I like to remind people of about not playing with something you don't know what it is. I don't care what religion you are in. All of those religions acknowledged negative energy.
They do.
They acknowledge demons. The Bible talked about demons. The Quran, different things, talks about demons, Jesus casting out demons having names, things of this nature. So it's not something to play with, Maud Moon, I used to hear two men having a conversation outside of my bedroom every night at around 10 p.m. But I could never understand what they were saying. I think it might have been residual energy. It very well could have been residual energy. Okay. Thank you very much. My angel, just brought me something to drink.
We would have these shadow men in our house a lot in the beginning, and they would have conversations amongst themselves. I don't know if this was that situation, but the whole family would steer clear of them. We would not engage, etc. It's a big deal. Can you experience entities in your dream state? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. A lot of times that's when you're the most vulnerable.
Go to bed. And if you're finding that you're dealing with sleep paralysis or night terrors, that's not normal. And any doctor who tells you that your child having night terrors is normal, it's not normal for your child to be terrorized, okay?
No, it is not. No, it
Something
is
else
not.
is happening, and there's a few things we can do. One is the frequency of green at night can help create a barrier. Green is a heart chakra color, a love color, okay? Bringing in your angelic team, etc. Burning frankincense resins, dragon blood resins. There's a reason why the Catholic Church has the thuribles of dragon blood resins smoking around the church, right? It's clearing the dark
Right.
entities out of the church. Just
You are,
saying.
oh, I got one for you on that one.
Okay.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, that absolutely right. And you know, one of the things here, that and I had something, and when you mentioned the church thing, that
The
threw
smoke
me.
and the thuribles, yeah.
Yeah, you know, but I know one of the things I wanted to make. When I want people to understand, especially coming from the scientific or the mental health platform, when a child or someone is having a nightmare and they're throwing, you know, they're ratcheting in bed, things like that. That is a nightmare. That is not night terrors.
Right.
Night terrors is like being slapped with something that completely comes at them from out of nowhere, and they will sit up screaming. That is night terrors. There is an actual difference between the two, and understanding that difference is knowledge, okay? Because then you need to say, okay, what's going on when my child's in this state of sleep that something's hitting them so fast and hard, they just wake up screaming. What are they seeing? And it's time to ask a question. Night terrors are not to be played with, you know?
No, and
It's
you're
just
going to create
not.
a safe space. I really want to address Michelle here
Okay.
before we move on. But anyways, and hi, Amy. Um, there's a lot we can do with night terrors. It's an interference of the dark side. When we sleep at night, we travel, but we also work with our spirit teams and guides. It's not always negative.
Right.
So if the dark side can interfere with us, it stops us from working with the light side. So this is where we need to take our power back. This is where we can, the green nightlight, the, you know, frankincense oil, all these things can be very, very helpful. Mozart music in the background. But Michelle says that she's lost a lot of important people to her lately, and she's begged them to come to her. And she says now they won't, I guess. So here's some rules about ghosts. Okay. When a person dies and we leave these physical bodies, we're a ghost energy until we go home to the heavens. Okay. So what happens is when a soul does not cross over, they visit us a lot. They travel at the speed of thought. So if my dead father is sitting at my table for Thanksgiving, he's a ghost energy. The light side does not allow for our loved ones to come back and forth like they come on vacation, come to vacation and back. It doesn't work that way.
No.
And I'm saying, Michelle, it may be that they have crossed over. They're going through a sort of healing process. Our loved ones can still communicate with us, but in our sleep state or in a case of an emergency. Other than that, it's hands off because we're supposed to learn how to live life without them for whatever reason. The love we have never dies.
Never.
Love
Never.
transcends dimensions. Right?
I mean, that's crazy. Michelle, yeah, I understand. And not only bad spirits stay around, you still have to understand some of these people, or you're dealing with spirit guides that are there to help you. And let's talk about something here real quick. We all have angels. Have you given them direction? Have you given them orders? Laura and I have talked about this quite a bit, okay? That they need direction from you. They are here to protect you. Spirit guides are just that. They are here to try to guide you. They don't need that permission because they're not doing anything other than trying to give you messages. So there are good things around you, but we have to acknowledge them. All right? And we have to be quiet and listen to what they're saying. So it's not only bad spirits that are staying around you, but you could be being very perceptive. And some of your angel team, your spirit guides are trying to let you know, hey, we're here. You need to listen to us. Now, Michelle, I'm going to ask you a question, Michelle, and you can put this in or not, okay? In the past month or two, since all this has been happening, have you been seeing what people call angel numbers? All right, 111, 333, 123, 456, these types of numbers. If you have, just pop down in there, yes or no, you haven't, okay? Because we'll come back to that as I scroll back down. But there's a reason for that, okay? And a lot of times it's not in the number of numerology. All right. So I'm going to have to pop back down there. She said, yes, sometimes. A lot of times, and Laura, correct me or tell me where you this. We get so busy. We get so caught up, or we're on the so wrong train of thought. These angel numbers will pop up and appear on signs on a cash register, in a game, on our phone, to get us to stop and pay attention to what's going on right now.
Not unlike the story you told of Jillian in the all-white form, right? Similar, correct. Very similar.
Correct. So, Michelle, look at those numbers, and I want you to stop and think about, that could be what's going on with those angel numbers is they're trying to communicate. You need to build some time to be quiet and actually listen and start writing some things down. And let's see where that goes.
And Amy asked about repetitive dreams.
Yeah.
That can be us trying to problem solve. It could be us almost like a Groundhog's Day event where we have to keep going over and over and over to figure it out. And it depends if the dream is negative, positive, or neutral also, I think would be a part of it too.
Right.
But I want to thank Michelle for that question. That was such a great question.
Great question. Great question. And Amy, yes, one of the things I will tell you, I believe, personal belief, and when I've dealt with people, helping them with dreams and understand it, the dreams you really want to pay attention to are the ones that you wake up and remember, okay? But that didn't have a crazy aspect to it. Why was Bob standing there in front of me? Nothing crazy, nothing like, oh, there was a 3-headed Gila monster trying to give me pizza from Domino's, just because we had too much pizza and beer before we went to bed. Those are the mind unraveling and sorting crap out. But the ones that are most of the times that I see as messages, the dreams, are very clear. And you may only remember a section of it, but you need to write that down, okay? Because other pieces, as you go through this in these repetitive dreams, may unfold, and you will be able to find out, oh, that was that message.
And if they're negative and scary, you're going to learn how to lucid dream. So you're dreaming within a dream. Shoot them with salt. Just shoot them with salt.
Yeah,
get your gun,
absolutely.
Shoot them with salt. It stops it.
Absolutely. And Tori, this makes total sense. The closer I was getting into my faith, they were chasing me down in my dreams to kill me, send assassins to get me. Of course, because the more stronger you are, okay? I don't even know if that was proper grammar, Miss Middle School teacher.
It works.
The stronger you are, the more stronger. Yeah. No.
The more strongester.
Yeah, the more strongester you are. Okay. The more strength you build, okay, the less they can feed. And Tori, I've told you before, you have a purpose. Okay. We all have a purpose. And the more they attack you, the more you need to realize you have a purpose and they're trying to keep you from it. Okay. So that should be, instead of being afraid, going, why are they after me so much? I must threaten them. Okay. Keep that aspect and find out what's going on. There's so much going on around. So, wow. Once in this dream state, they even killed the pastor that baptized me. That is
The
on
fear
a
tactic.
dark level. Yeah.
Yeah. Fear tactic.
Talk to her. Tell her. Laura, because you know those fear tactics. You've seen it. And
they will utilize everything they can. I don't know how much longer we can go, but I have another really crazy, scary story.
Go right ahead. I'm not really on a time. We got more people. We got to
I
acknowledge
should
or what.
have grabbed the crystal. I should have grabbed down. I might have to
Okay.
save it. Yeah, because there's a crystal that I can show you that proved that the dream was more than a dream because the crystal was broken when I woke up. And I never found the back half. Okay.
Yeah. I've
All
had
right,
them
well-
disappear off of a desk.
Yeah.
I mean, like right there.
Yeah.
We couldn't find it. And then 3 months later, it's on my dining room table. And I was looking for it because one, like Bridget gave me a couple of things. All right. Who is, I haven't seen her tonight. Maybe she's lurking off in the darkness, but she's one of my greatest friends. Okay. And when her or her husband give me something, it's dear to me. And when I misplace it, when I lose it, it hurts me. And when I couldn't find it, and finally I had to break down and tell her, I don't know where this went. She's like, somebody needed it more than you. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But then 3 weeks later, it shows up. Boop, We're like, what the,
Apportation again. That's an apportation.
Right.
Because chances are you ate dinner on your table more than once or twice in those 3 months, right?
Absolutely. That's like what I told you about the hat when we went to Florida.
Yeah.
She swears that was my dad coming back jerking me around, to let me know, because it just made no absolute sense at all. So, let's see what's going on here. So, MP Myers, yes, 10 or 11 every day on license tags going to work. Okay. So a lot of times that is you're paying attention to driving, but something is trying to talk to you, MP, and tell you, I need you to pay attention, slow down. And when I deal on a counseling aspect, all right, I used to draw this beautiful diagram of an A, a B, and a C, and draw a circle around the A, and there's a space and a B and a C. And we think of A, when I get up. B, I make breakfast for the kids. C, I drive to work. D, I'm at work. F, it's my first break. We think, and there's that gap in between. We think that A, B, C, and D is life. That's not life. The life, it's what's happening between A and B. When you're on your way to work, are you listening? Are you paying attention? Are you mindful? Or are you already at work? When we get to work, we get so focused. When we take a break, a lot of times we're taking our break thinking about what we have to accomplish when we get back and not just taking time to sit and be still. For A, our own mental health, and B, to hear what our spirits, guides, and God and Jesus, whatever, the mother, any one of those that you believe have to tell us. They're trying to get us to slow down and listen. What were you thinking about just before that? What should you have been thinking about? Because sometimes those thoughts that you think is just your mind going, those are the gifts. But we're not there to pay attention. Laura?
Life has never been more busy than it is now. If we look through humanity, the 1600s look like the 1700s, look like the 1800s, look like the 1900s. Now all of a sudden we have this J-curve spike of technology, of connectivity, of being busy. We go on vacation. We still have to answer emails or whatever, right? So I think, and there's a disconnect with this busyness. And I know I'm guilty of it, right? but the moments to slow down and be mindful is exactly what you're talking about, is so important. When we can slow down and learn how to be more mindful with ease
Yes.
and not trying to force the conversations or force the connectivity with higher self and the spirit realms, with ease, let it flow through you, amazing things can happen. And it can be simple messages.
Absolutely. And, they'll come, God, Spirit, Mother, Nature will send them to you. You know,
Yeah.
it's funny how when we talk about channeling spirit or listening to spirit guides or whatnot, I've heard from different religious aspects, oh, you can't do that, Well, isn't that what a preacher does? He listens to the
Yep.
spirit. He says he got his messages from the spirit. What makes us any different from him? Sit down, listen, discernment, as Laura is so fond of saying. What is going on in your life? Michelle, you say something here. I need to not be so desperate, I think. That is a massive understatement, and I think falls right into what Laura was just talking about with the way our
That's
society is.
99% of us, right?
I have said all along that I think the biggest disease that plagues this country or the planet is codependency. Now, a lot of you are like, well, I'm not a drug addict. Codependency doesn't have to be on drugs. It doesn't have to be on a substance. It can be on, why doesn't that person like me? Codependency can be, I need my boss to like me in order for me to be happy. I need to get all thumbs up instead of not just 99 thumbs up. I need all 100 thumbs up. We will spend so much time searching and desperate for these answers that we forget to just be. And let me tell you something. We're talking about mindfulness, but mindfulness has its place. And there is a negative to mindfulness. Everybody's like, what? I'm saying the absolute, worst thing, because we don't face the reality of what we're dealing with. Oh, be mindful. Just, false positivity. Oh, everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. Not if you don't fix your brakes, it ain't going to be great. Okay?
So true.
I got to figure out how to fix my brakes. Well, just be mindful, Well, yeah, when your ass passes your head going through the windshield because you didn't stop to deal with the reality of now. So that's not what we're talking about with mindfulness. What we're talking about is taking some time to say, like, okay, I know I got to deal with my brakes, but now I just need to take some time to listen to my guides, my spirit. And in my talk on Monday night was talking about how faith and trust build your faith. You can't tell everybody you have faith and trust and then not talk to your spirit guides. Talk to God, talk to the angels, talk to Christ, talk to Holy Spirit, talk to the Mother, talk to the universe. That's very important.
I want to add a little something to that, and this is about discernment.
Sure.
If we are having these conversations or we're hearing these thoughts that we think are from a different entity or spirit team or whatever, you need to understand, is that thought harmful or helpful?
Absolutely.
Your team will not give you a harmful thought. So you really have to think about it. Does this make you comfortable or uncomfortable? Not in the sense that I'm avoiding stuff. I care a lot from people when I'm working with their higher selves or whatever. They get. I have to give these people a lecture from their higher self. And it's like, really, pay attention, listen to whatever it was. So, are these thoughts helpful? Are they harmful? Are you being asked to do something to somebody that is not for that somebody's greater good? So
Right.
if that's the case, shut it off. And just bring in
Absolutely.
Jesus, bring in your angels. So that's a big little part of learning how to listen and discern.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's hard to get wacky out ahead if you're singing a bright song. If you're not Christian, if you're not, into the Bible or whatnot, there are still wholesome, healthy things. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Right?
And you're like, Rob, that's just silly. being silly when your brain is saying, I don't want to be silly, is you taking control and start to change those thoughts. I used to laugh. One of the things I used to tell people in the I had somebody say to me on Facebook the other day, that's all great. I need more science. I need more science. They were doing some of the exercises. So let me give you something, okay, that helps. When you start having this brain full of thoughts, especially bad thoughts, and like what Laura said, if they're bad thoughts or if they're dwelling on thoughts that you can do nothing about, they're the same thing.
Yeah.
Walk into a bathroom, look in the mirror, flip on the light, raise your eyebrows up, get that grin on, and start singing happy birthday to yourself out loud and clap like an idiot. Happy birthday to me. And people are like, I'm not doing that. Why? Why? Because here's what happens, and I've had people talk about it, and some of my old Bangarang tribe members will remember me saying this, all right? What has happened when I've had people do this is not that their kids made fun of them, but they did. But next thing you know, they got their kids in the bathroom, walked in going, what are you doing? And they're all doing it together, and everybody's laughing and joking. You have to do something physical a lot of times that your body doesn't want to do at that moment to take control of that thought and replace that thought.
Absolutely.
So that is something you can do. You know, and one of the things I taught addicts was about holding your breath and locking it down, hulking out, and then letting that breath go and letting your muscles go with it at the same time. There's more to it I'll talk about. I'll do a special on the 20-minute challenge, okay? And inevitably, the women would do it, but the guy's like, I'm not doing that in public. And I'm like, I'm doing it in the grocery store. Number one, if somebody's kid's going, meow, 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 and people are, you know, and I'm standing in the middle of the aisle going, like that 9 times out of 10, when I open my eyes, I have the aisle to myself. Okay.
Yeah.
I hear, come here, little Johnny, you know, get away from the crazy old bald dude, you know, but it's one of those things where I don't know these people and I don't care, but I need to get control of what's going into my head because that stuff leads to really bad stuff. So sorry, didn't mean to get on a box there.
No, I think that's fantastic. And learning how to control the thoughts is a good, it's hard, but it's something we all need to learn how to do. And Amy is talking about what's the way to tell if you have a good entity or something trying to trick you.
Okay.
This is a lot of the work that I do is teaching people how to learn to discern. A lot of the light workers and airy fairy people are like, oh, love and light sage will fix everything. Well, if that were the case, we'd have a much different planet, right?
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier. You know?
Yeah, no kidding. Maybe
with lights and sage, light a doobie, and everything's going to be okay. You know?
So if we can't see, a lot of us can sense. So when we're working with these abilities, we have to use all of our senses. So how does something feel? Can we sense it? Can we, you know, hear it? Can we see it? Right?
Right.
Funny. Utilize all these senses. And so let's say we're hearing these thoughts. We feel like there's an entity around us, but I feel like it might be like right here. I'm not sure, or it's over here. Close your eyes. It's a spiritual practice. It's a tool. Visualize yourself pouring a mountain of salt over it. Salt cleanses in all dimensions. If it is good for you, it will remain. If it's bad for you, it's going to shapeshift, disappear, or pixelate out. You can also up your game. So the dark side, they love it when we're using the same stuff over and over because they can just kind of punch through. So try visualize yourself pouring frankincense oil on it or some other high frequency substance. Sage isn't strong enough. It just isn't. It might have been stronger years ago before the ante was upped right now with what we're dealing with.
Right.
So just practice this and you can clear your house this way too. When you wake up in the morning, just visualize yourself pouring salt on your house or on your in your room or wherever it is. And it kind of lends itself into Mauve Moon's question about what's the difference between seeing a shadow, a white figure, or a solid spirit. It
Good
depends.
question. Good question.
It depends on a lot of things. And let me know if you've got another idea or avenue. But for me, if I'm tired, I tend not to see something in full aspect.
Right.
My energy's too low. If it's a ghost and they have a lot of energy, they're in full aspect. Maybe the ghost is low energy and I'm low energy. And so now I'm seeing kind of a shadowy figure. A white figure is usually something from the higher realms. And I'll kind of share a little story with this is that I remember, I don't know if I shared this with you before, about the little boy in the minivan.
I
I
think
don't think
so,
so.
but I can't remember.
Okay.
We've talked about it so much. Go ahead.
I'm at a parking lot with a girlfriend who doesn't know what I do because it was like this big family
Right.
secret for years. Um, and I see this little boy banging on the window of this minivan. I'm like, oh my God, you see that little boy? He's trapped to this hot van. And like, what are you talking about? And as soon as I said that, it disappeared. And somebody said that they would disappear from them. I realized that boy had died in a hot car. Maybe not necessarily that van, but I ended up coaxing him out to cross him over. So in his moment of panic, he was so real to me. I thought it was a living boy.
Right.
As soon as he was identified, he just dropped. It was like all of a sudden his energy just went like a deflated balloon. So there's a lot of theme and variation with what I've just said. And part of it is learning how to trust our intuition with these things as well.
Absolutely. It just like we talked about Mauve with Gillian being in all white, things like that. One of the things, this was in the morning. I was not in a low energy, very high energy. This was sent, and when I turned around and looked at her, it wasn't like, oh, there's this beautiful thing. I thought my wife was standing there. I would have walked over and given her a kiss, smacked her on the butt, whatever I do, There was no doubt in my mind that that was my wife. All right. Because that's telling me that's a message, that's a higher spirit, the white, that it was pure, that I had a great feeling. So this is where we talk on Tarot and Attitude, and I know Laura talks about it on Karmic Path lot. Your intuition is huge. Staying in tune. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important to be present so you can know what's being played with and what's not. Okay? A solid spirit, all right? And so again, solid spirit, we believe, Laura and I believe, that the moment somebody dies, they are to move on. If they don't move on, it's because of A, suicide, B, sudden death. They weren't expecting it. And they're kind of stuck.
And they need help.
Okay. And they need help. And that solid spirit, if it's in that state, will oftentimes be confused in another stage of dress, for depending on what was going on, okay, in their life at that moment. So some of that you can start looking at that way. The shadow, whenever, I've always said, personal belief, I will never tell you when it's not something I can prove or whatnot. When have we ever known the white energy, light energy, God energy, mother energy, that nurturing energy to come in as a shadow? To me, the first time it appears as a shadow, I've got a flag going off. Either something's wrong with my energy or something's wrong with that energy. Would you agree, Laura?
Oh, absolutely. The shadow
right.
could also be a ghost entity. It could be. And bring in your angels, cross it over. You can bring in your angels to remove the shadow entity. It doesn't matter if it's a ghost or not.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something, folks. When you're in that presence, one of the things is to realize, are you afraid? Are you scared? Is this bringing on negative thoughts, negative energy? And whether it's negative or not, just, yeah, seeing a ghost might give you goosebumps, like Tori's saying here, okay? But generally, you'll be like, oh, my mom, when she passed away, came to visit me, my wife, and my aunt. Sorry, I'm from the South. It's aunt. It's not an aunt. I know I'm saying it wrong, but that's the way I was raised. All at the same time. We all woke up at the exact same time. And I forget what it was about my wife woke up actually saying like ascension. I woke up knowing that my mom had just left. Wasn't within minutes, we got the call, and I called my aunt, and my aunt was already up. And this is like 2:00 in the morning, that bewitching hour, So that is one of those things where, yeah, there was no fear. We just knew. All right. But when my dad had a church that was way out in the woods, I hated it. I love the people. All right. But they started to have a church split, as every Baptist church does. Okay. And all over because my dad told somebody not to give bubblegum out before church, but give it out after church. All right. Because he didn't want the kids sticking it in the pews and everything else, And when the church, the night he resigned, okay, I remember his message like it was yesterday. And he talked about, look, we all love each other. The only person that will tell a lie here is Satan. Satan is alive and well. Satan will do anything he can to split the church. Satan is a liar. He went on and on. The one main dude stood up. And I swear, you could hear it in his voice. Now that you've called me a liar and said I'll do anything to split this church. And I'm sitting there. A lot of people are sitting there. And my dad just leaned over the pulpit and said, I resign. Now, this was his first church. All right. First one he ever had. But this is where some of the bitterness between me and my dad came from. When we turned the lights off on that church and then we had to walk across an empty field into the woods to the parsonage, okay, he would always walk out and make me go all the way to the back, walk through the church in the dark to turn the lights off. And I'm telling you, I saw repeatedly little heads popping up. Like imagine my head behind my chair. And they're all looking, and like they would try to get closer. And I would beat feet to the door and shut the door. Didn't say anything ever to him. But that night, he confessed, I always had you do it because something in that church scared the daylights out of me. So that caused a little rift between me and him of thank you for doing that to your son, But
Right.
those are what I'm talking about. When you get those kinds of feelings, let yourself be known. It's announcing who it is.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So great show tonight, Rev Rob and Laura, learning so much. Glad. Thank you. MP
Thank
just
you.
saw a ghost cat for the first time 3 days ago.
Yep.
I get the spirit of an animal when I'm talking to people. I don't see them like you do, I guess, But there are times when I will see that I'll tell somebody, you feel what's with the dog or the cat? I can't tell. And you'll feel it something jump up in your lap. And they're like, or whatnot. And I said, A, it's trying to tell you it's got someplace else it needs to go. And you need you to know it's okay. Or B, they just need you to know it's okay. And they're trying to calm you down. But let them go. So, no. Ghost cats and dogs and animals, and as we heard tonight, ghost turkeys.
We are really attached to our animal friends, our fur babies, right? And when they die, it can be harder to deal with when a human dies
Yes.
because they give us unconditional love. And what can happen, and it's not a criticism, but our grief and despair over the loss of this living loved one can create these tentacles that wrap around the animal so they're not able to cross over. We have to learn that we need to let them go.
Right.
And it's okay. A lot of times our animals come back to us over and over, lifetime after lifetime and in between lifetimes. And I've got a really scary story on my YouTube channel, The Karmic Path,
Right.
titled Chico. It's about a
Okay.
dog that died and why he didn't cross over. It's a long
Gotcha.
story, but if you're interested, check out Chico.
Check out Chico. And I gotta call this name out. I love this name. Kaiju Whisperer. Yes, if you're not a sci-fi person, you won't know what this is referring to, but I love this name, Pacific Rim. I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys ever hear about the ghost whisperer, Mary Winkowski? I have not, or I don't remember it. Let me put it that way. So Kaiju Whisperer, thank you. But I have not. You know, yes, indeed, to love someone or even love something is to let them go. Absolutely. It sounds like that old parable. If something, let it go. If it's meant to be, it'll come back to you. You know, not always. Sometimes you just got to let things go and not worry about it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, and see what's going on. You know, so we got a lot of people here. I think we've about hit where we need to be. You know, Donna, agreed, Laura, everybody. I just want to say thank you to everybody that turned out. We had quite a crowd. And you know what, guys? We're going to do this more often. I think Laura might kill me, but if I know the way she thinks, she's going to be like, no, this was good. We had a good time.
Good. Let's do this again.
We got to have some fun, but we also got to give some knowledge, things like that or whatnot. So
I'll figure out my echo issue too.
Okay, yeah, we'll figure that out. So everybody, Laura at The Karmic Path. You can find her on YouTube at The Karmic Path on YouTube. Tarot with an Attitude, my guys, you're already there or whatnot. For both of us, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share. It's the way we can grow, okay? Also, make sure you ring the bell because we're going to be doing this again. Some of the stuff that Laura's been doing on my channel, we're going to move it over to her channel. We're going to start combining this. We had talked about doing a separate channel. We're just going to keep things going together this way. But I think we still might call it Crossing Realms Together instead of Teacher to Exorcist or whatnot, because this goes on in a lot of different places. But Miss Laura, you got Laura's book. The link is in the description below. My books and my wife's books in the description. If you need if you want to meet with Laura for a session, you can reach her through her email, laura@thekarmicpath.com. And mine, there's a link in my link tree down there with a little bit of everything you need. So, Miss Laura, you got anything else you want to say?
I am just so thrilled that we got to do this. You can never get enough Reverend Rob time, okay? It's just fun. It's easy. It's fast. I mean, it's all good. And Jillian, too. I mean, she's the best part. I got to be honest with you. She's behind the scenes, but when we're not in there, she's the best part.
Oh, my God. She keeps me so focused, you know.
Yeah,
so
she's
focused.
Awesome. So, thank everybody for being here tonight. I'm so grateful, very appreciative. And it's so great to see people that I know here and some new friends, too.
Absolutely. So, everybody, as we always say, take what you want, leave what you don't, but leave having experienced some peace, love, and light. Bangarang.